What's up, YouTube? Now, you see the title of this video, and you see the image that I have on the screen here. If you hear a little noise in the background, I'm driving, got the AC on. It's hot as hell, man. It's hot as hell where I'm at. But you know, this has to be addressed, man. I gotta delve deep into this goofiness, man. Now you see the title, man. You see the image on the screen, right? You know, just read that goofy ass post, right? Right. You see who I've added. You know, this dude Legion of Men, bro. This dude Legion of Men, bro. Like, you know, and I really, a lot of times I really don't want to really just be making videos talking about, you know, other YouTubers a lot, but it's like, you know, this type of goofiness has to be addressed, because Legion of Men, along with all of these other, you know, white nationalists, man, they live in a delusional world. Now, you see the post, right? You know, there's some other stuff he has in the post, of course, right? If you go to the full post, and you'll be able to, like, click, you know, read more and read the rest of it. But basically, you know, the stuff that he posted, you know, for his, like, response to that post, like, he has an image up of, I guess, some white person in Poland, you know, talking about, you know, read what's on the screen, right? You see that they're talking about how they got some groceries, whoop-de-whoop. Someone went to go get some groceries, and, you know, they wanted them to watch their kid and all this, and they're talking about how, yeah, man, this is just a great example of the homogeneous, you know, high trust society, the white homogeneous perfect society, like, you know, just this narrative, man. You know, and this goofiness just has to be addressed, bro. You know, this narrative where, you know, by these white nationalists is that the whole problem that's going on in society today in a lot of these countries like America and whatnot, it's the migrants' fault, right? It's the immigrants, man. It's because there's too many of these immigrants, you know, coming in from these third world countries, and that's the problem with society. You know, it's the blacks, right? You know, that dumb shit, right? That needs to be a meme, bro, because that's literally what these motherfuckers do. This is all they do, and it's just goofy, man. It's just goofy, because when you actually look at what's the real problem, because see, these white nationalists, man, they really are. This is all they have, man. Legion of Men and others like him, it's all they have is this race shit, bro. This is all they have. They have to believe that they are superior. They have to believe that, you know, the problem is that, oh, there's just not enough white people in a certain area. You know, they just have to believe this nonsense. They will deny reality itself to believe that goofy shit. Because the funny thing about this shit is, when we actually address what's the real issue in a lot of these countries, right, America and all this, is not the migrants fucking shit up. It's the fact that the elite oligarchs, who Legion of Men and others like his ilk are scared of, shitless of, the elite oligarchs who run this world, they are siphoning all of the wealth away from the society, right? They are siphoning the wealth from society. There is the problem in all of when we look at everything, when we really address the real issue in society, it's people are not able to sustain a comfortable life, to have a livable wage. Prices are high, rent is high as fuck, you know, can't afford a house. Now, Legion of Men will make it seem like it's because of the migrants. Legion of Men will tell you that the reason that shit is expensive and the rent's high and the mortgage is high on the housing, you know, you can't afford a house, and the job market, Legion of Men will have you believe it's because of the migrants, right? Legion of Men will have you believe, you know, it's the blacks' fault, you know. I know it's not just black migrants, of course. It's actually more than other migrants than black, but you get what I'm saying, right? You know, this narrative that it's just all the blacks' fault, blaming black people, blaming anybody, right? They live in this world where that's the case. They live in this world where, it's the migrants' fault, right? But we're not addressing the real issue. The elites are not paying people proper wages. The cost of everything is going up, but the wages are not matching. And Legion of Men and others like him will have you believe it's the migrants' fault. It's their fault. And they never want to address the elites. And even if they do try to talk about the quote-unquote elites, they'll just say it's the Jews, right? And that's, the Jews are not the top of the totem pole when it comes to who's running shit. But the reason they latch on to the Jew shit is because it coincides with that Nazi bullshit, right? So then, they can latch on to Mustache Man in Germany and talk about how, the Aryan race and, the Jews are attacking the whites. It's everything to be a victim, right? Because the reality is these individuals, right, who push this narrative, they understand. I feel like a lot of them are just dumb as hell, but I feel like a lot of them know what's the real issue, but they just want to live in this delusional world and try to convince themselves that it's the Jews, it's the blacks, it's everybody, but, white people who have destroyed the fucking earth. Like, we just got to keep it a bean. Like, nobody wants to address the real problem. That's why we're not going to get anywhere. Blaming, saying the Jews shit, and that whole thing's a psyop too. That's all a psyop facilitated by the elites, actually. Which is the 4D chess that a lot of these goofies, they claim to have high IQs. They don't understand, the high class 4D chess move it was to, do the whole Nazi psyop. That's a whole nother video. So when you create that type of dumb shit, and then you have the white nationalists who, oh, well, this is the truth right here, man. The Mustache Man was right, and everything is because the whites is superior, and everything is crumbling because the migrants and it's the DEI and they're competent white men must be in charge. This is the dumb shit they believe, because they have to latch on to this race shit because it's all white male cope. When it breaks down, racism is all cope. It's a coping mechanism, right? It's a coping mechanism for a lot of shit that a lot of these dudes don't want to address when it comes to their inferiority complex. So they run around making it about race. They run around blaming the blacks. They run around blaming the Hispanics. They run around blaming caterpillars, trees, leaves, centipedes, anything but whites. Anything but the elites who are white. They're not Jews, they are white. And these types of individuals like Legion of Men and all these other white nationalists, they are scared shitless to attack the real issue, because not only would they have to not be able to blame all these other groups and be like, okay, it's white people, it's people that look like me doing this. They can't blame, they have to just be like, okay, it's us. It's people that look like us. We have to address this issue. No race shit involved in this. But see, they're too scary, bruh. There's a level of cowardice that's in this, man. They are scared shitless to attack the elite oligarchs, man. They're scared, bruh. They are really scared. I said this in my last video. A lot of these white men are scary, bruh. They're bitch made. They are not about to attack the elites. They will punch down at black people because they're a marginalized group and they got the whole system in their favor. But they not about to go against the elites, bruh. And that's why it's like, when we talk about manhood and masculinity in this country, like, bro, a lot of people say, oh, why is everything, manhood, and they're attacking manhood? Nah, bro, you're destroying your own manhood, bro. People talk about, certain things like, the masculinity is going, is crumbling in society and this and that, and oh, it's because of they're doing this with the media and they're pushing it. No, bro, no, it's not that. It's because the longer you engage in bitch-ass behavior and keep blaming everybody but the elites, you're gonna eventually become more effeminate. And I feel like even on a biological level that happens. When you're not engaging in manhood, then you're just gonna slowly become a fucking woman. This is why I believe the T levels is even dropping. You got all of these dudes, they just wanna run around and cry and bitch and talk about it's the blacks, it's the migrants. When we look at the problem, we look at capitalism and how it operates. And I'm not a fan of capitalism, because when you actually understand how capitalism works, it leads to what we're headed to right now, where you got like 3 fucking corporations running everything, and you got all the peasants running around. See, this is nothing more than a repeat of what went on in medieval Europe. And I believe a lot of these white nationalists, a lot of these white people, they have medieval PTSD. I'm gonna do a separate video on that. They have medieval PTSD, right? Because in Europe, during the time period of, you know, the medieval times, when it was peasants and serfs and shit, the elites was running everything, and you had the peasants and the serfs, and they were basically getting bitched by a small percentage, and that's basically what's happening now. But see, the only difference is the white nationalists now, you know, instead of, you know, just they don't have anybody, they didn't have anybody to look down to and be like, oh, it's your fault. They were the peasants, the serfs. They was at the bottom. So they basically had to be engaged in some manhood and grow some nuts and address the elites. But now that there's black people, and we have this system where, you know, they can instill some false superiority in goofies like Legion of Men with all this pseudoscience and made up shit body elites when it comes to, you know, race realism and IQ and all this made up shit. They can cope with feeling superior and blame the blacks and not address the elites because they are a bunch of bitches. So instead of addressing the real issue, instead of addressing the elites that are fucking up the planet, instead of addressing the real problem on this globe, they want to run around and say, oh, it's because it's not a homogeneous society with high trust. They want to blame the blacks. They want to look at the crime rate in the black community and act like that shit floated out of thin air. They want to act like the community that is fucked up, the black community that is fucked up, they want to act like that shit just popped out of thin air. They don't want to address the historical record and all the sabotage that was waged against the black community, the towns that were burnt down. None of these goofies want to address that. So they want to say, oh, it's because they're just inherently violent in their IQ. And they don't want to address the fact that everything has been waged against the Negro since they stepped foot in this fucking country. So they want to run around like a bunch of bitches and cry about the Jews and not address the real problem. And then run around and act like, oh, it's because there's just not enough white people. When we look at a country like Poland, they're not having the problems they're not having because because there's not a lot of migrants there. That's not why. If you actually know how to fucking read and actually know history and actually research what's going on in Poland, it has nothing to do with a homogeneous society, as if it's just, because it's white people, so it just prospers just by inherently. No, it's because they have a prosperous economy, and the cost of living in Poland is way better than the cost of living in America. In fact, I think it's over 50%. It's a over 50% cost of living when it comes to the cost of living in America opposed to Poland. The cost of living in Poland, you know, it's way cheaper. It's like over 50% cheaper when it comes to the cost of living from America to Poland. They have a way better cost of living there. So that facilitates less homeless people. That facilitates, they got more jobs. And then on top of that, you have a lower population, so that helps with a lot of shit to a degree as well. And these are the things that I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff. I could do a whole separate video on it. But Poland is not. They let them tell it. It's just because it's majority white. Let Legion of Men and all the goofies like him tell it. And it's not because of the economy. It's not because they don't have the goofy shit going on over there when it comes to the high inequity of wealth like America. But like I said, let Legion of Men tell it. It's because it's a homogeneous white society, and not because they have a low homeless population, they got a better economy, all that shit. Let them tell it. It's because it's no blacks. It's no Muslims. Let them tell it. It's no high amount of Asians or whatever. Let him tell it. That's the reason. Let him tell that's the reason. And what's funny is this narrative that, oh, a homogeneous white society, that's why it's prosperous. Bruh. And like I said, this is what I mean. They don't live in reality. When we look at trailer parks in America, they are, I mean, when we looking at it, it's a homogeneous area of whites, is it not? So when we look at a fucking trailer park, which is like always 99% fucking white, basically all white, why are trailer parks not prospering like Poland did, Legion of Men, and all the dumbass white nationalists? Can y'all explain that to me with your high IQs? Can you explain to me why trailer parks are in fucking shambles if everything just needed to be white to prosper? Can somebody explain that shit to me? Because maybe I don't get it because I'm a low IQ black, but I would think, based off your logic, because the homogeneous white society immediately equals prosperity, why are trailer parks in fucking shambles? Why can't those high IQ whites figure out how to build shit? Why are they in fucking shambles? Why is it not a high trust society in trailer parks? And you know, it's funny because, you know, going on that trailer park shit, I used to work at a fucking retail store, you know, one of these goofy retail stores. I can't wait until I'm actually done with college, man, so I can, you know, get my job, my career field. You know, right now I'm just got out of high school and college. I'm a broke college student, but I was working at a retail store, and then, you know, the area, you know, I'm in, it's like a lot of white people, right? And you know, there's like this, it's almost like a border or some shit where I reside, where you got the white people that got some money, and then you got the white people who don't have money, right? And it's like the trailer parks and all the poor whites on one side, and then the white people with money on the other side, you know. So, you know, I worked in that on that border area, right? Or I used to, right? And, you know, a lot of these poor whites would come to the fucking store, and they would always steal shit. Like, they would always steal shit. They come in the store, they act like they're gonna buy some shit, and then they just fucking steal shit and run out. It happened every time. They would fill up baskets with drills and all types of shit, and then they would like just dart out the fucking door and then just run to the car, throw the shit in the truck real quick. And, you know, we can't do anything. They told us, oh, you can't stop them, right? You can't. You just gotta like get the license plate maybe or some shit and just let them drive off. You know, a lot of times we didn't even do that because I honestly didn't give a fuck. But, you know, anyway, you know, they would do that, right? These poor whites, they would come in and steal shit. Now, it's funny because let Legion of Men tell it, you know, and others of his ilk, it's the blacks that steal. It's just the blacks, bruh. Every time, it's white men coming in stealing, you know? And you know, I don't live in a delusional world like Legion of Men. I'm not a bitch that has to cope and feel like I'm better than somebody, you know, with my race to cope with my inferiority. So, I'm not running around trying to be like, oh, they're inferior, they're those violent, thieving whites. Nah, they're fucking poor, right? They're broke as shit. So I understand they coming in and they stealing shit. They're gonna go sell those drills. They're gonna go sell all that equipment, and they're gonna make some money. They're broke as fuck. I understand. You know, I don't condone this shit, but I understand why they're stealing. I understand. You know, they're a product of their environment. You know, I'm actually an intellect, unlike Legion of Men and others like him. So I understand that shit. But nonetheless, these white men, they come in and they kept stealing shit. So eventually we had to make it to where, you know, the company was like, you know, we got to put these fucking locks on the wheels. So what they did is they put these locks on it. And what the locks did was, before you even was able to reach, you know, the automatic doors to leave, the lock would engage and stop anybody from leaving. So the only way you could disengage it is with some remote device, right? So that stopped a lot of the theft. But, you know, these guys, man, you know, they found a way. They found a way to steal again. They just came in and you know, you can't put a lock on people's feet, right? So a lot of people would just come in and just steal one or two items then. You know, instead of stealing 5 or 8, they stole 1 or 2. They would run out. I mean, they still got something, right? But, you know, they changed up their methods of theft, right? We had to lock up shit, too, in the store. You know, because these white dudes, they kept stealing shit. But, you know, it was the poor whites. It wasn't the white people that was with money, right? Because they got money. They don't need to steal, right? Because they have the economic means to live a comfortable life, and they don't need to steal. Because poverty creates crime. Let Legion of Men and all those, like him tell it, it's because, the IQ, blacks are inherently predisposed to violence. If I was a dumbass like him, I would run around saying, well, those white men, they're just predisposed to violence and theft because their IQ. No, it's not. It's because they're fucking poor, bro. But, all that shit that was happening, all those white dudes that kept coming in and stealing, is that a high trust society? Now, we're in a majority white area. Is that a high trust society, Legion of Men? Is that a fucking high trust society where you keep stealing shit and no one can trust you when you come in the store? These are mostly white people. Is that a high trust society? No, it's not. Now, why is that society not high trust? Let's be smart here, everybody that's watching this, right? Let's use our high IQs. Is it because, one, those white dudes were predisposed to violence and theft and they were just foaming at the mouth running in to steal shit? Or was it because, two, they were poor and their economic conditions caused them to do shit that maybe they shouldn't have been doing? But nonetheless, hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do. I understand the society's fucked up. They don't want to pay people. You're struggling to get a job. You're probably on fucking welfare, all types of shit. And they're like, fuck it, man. I'm gonna come in here and steal this shit, man. I gotta get by. I understand, bro. I understand. I don't come from that background, but I do understand. I understand. Now, which one is it? Is it one or two? Use your brain if you have one. So, when we're looking at this narrative that it's just we need a homogeneous white society to have, high trust. No, bro. What you need is a society that allows people to have comfortable lives, have affordable living, affordable housing, and the society needs to be safe. You need to have not a lot of homeless people, not a lot of poverty, so then you don't have crime. That's how you create a high trust society. Doesn't matter the fucking quote unquote race. You could have a goddamn black and Asian mix. If that area is prosperous and the people are living good, you're gonna have low crime. When you have some people that do crime here and there, of course, you're always gonna have bad apples, man. You're gonna have some people that might decide to be a goddamn serial deleter, But hey, bro, that shit happens, bro. You got people who are just gonna be, that bad apple. A crazy individual, bro. Like, so you're gonna have those like outliers of it, just insane, Richard Ramirez types of people, Ted Bundy types of people, right? But your crime is gonna be low. You're gonna have a high trust society, prosperous, and all that. That has nothing to do with race. But let Legion of Men and others of his ilk tell it. That's the problem in the planet, in these countries. That's the problem. We just don't have enough of these whites, bro. And it's not a homogeneous society, and it's because of these low IQ non-whites and the DEI that's fucking shit up. Let them tell it. It's fucking annoying, bro. It's actually fucking annoying to see this shit, because it's like I read this dumbass shit and I'm thinking in my head, it's like, bro, am I just this much smarter than these goofies, or are they just that retarded? Like it's like I just don't even understand how somebody can be that fucking stupid. It's just like stupid people piss me off. It's absolutely insane how dumb a motherfucker can be. But I understand, bro. It's like, I understand this racism, man. They have to cope with this shit, bro. This is all they have. This is all a lot of these white people have. Just like the return of the land shit. I made a video about that a couple days ago. They're going out in the woods and shit, and we want to have a white culture. Yeah, we want to preserve our white culture. What fucking culture? What white American culture? You mean being hateful? Yeah, because that return to the land, all those goofies believe in, the mustache man was not a bad guy and shit, and it's the Jews and the blacks, and the blacks are subhuman and low IQ. They believe all that shit. They're literal Nazis. So it's like they are right. They are preserving American white culture, and that's hatred. They're not getting together to enjoy ourselves together, and we just love white people. We love white culture. We want to preserve whiteness because it's about love and peace. No, it's about hatred. It's all they have. When it comes down to it, man, for a lot of these white people, and it's not all, when it comes to a lot of these white people, man, all they fucking have is hatred and racism. That's all they have. They don't have nothing else, bro. They don't got nothing else, man. They don't got nothing else, bro. All they have is racism. That's all they got. Without it, they have nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. I mean, this is a mentally unstable group of people. You know, projecting everything on other groups, calling other groups violent, this and that. And when you look at it, everything that they're projecting is them. You know, and they're just crashing out because they're too scared to attack the fucking elites, man. A bunch of goddamn bitches, man. Man, bruh. I had to make the video. I know I keep saying I make my Anton Daniels video, but I saw this shit and something in me just I crashed out, bro. And I had to make this fucking video, bro. Cause it's just, this narrative is just goofy, bro. Oh my goodness. But you know, I'm about to go ahead and end this video, man. I'm about to end this video. You know, these goofies like Legion of Men and shit, man, they're just, I mean, these are the dumbest people in society, bro. The absolute dumbest individuals, bro. I mean, the irony of claiming to be high IQ and all that, and it's just, you're just fucking stupid. Oh my goodness, bro. It is laughable. It is laughable, man. Oh my goodness. But, you know, they do have some studies coming out saying like the IQ in America is dropping, you know, and shit like that. You know, I don't even think Legion of Men lives in America, but still, he's from this country, so it applies to it applies. Like I said, I'm gonna end this video, man. Hopefully, my next video is about Anton Daniels, unless I see some other goofiness, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and end this video, man. I'm out.